And I would like to welcome here the first speaker, who is Ivana Didak from the Guild Network. So Ivana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is Ivana, and I will be presenting the Guild of European Research Intensive Universities today, and many thanks to the organizers to the CZELO colleagues. I will share my screen and just give you a quick overview of the Guild. I hope that you can see it well.
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, so I would start maybe with the how and the why the Guild was created, and maybe then share a few of our activities and hopefully some successes that we can share after what, 5 years. So the Guild was founded in 2016. It's an association of 21 research intensive universities across 16 countries, so from west to the east. Last year, we welcomed our 21st member, so that was Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona. Why the Guild was created? Maybe I can start by saying that the context was such that we just had the Brexit vote. There was a growing significance of the EU framework programs for R&I. Here you can see the growing budget from FP6 then to Horizon Europe. But with the growing budget, there was also a growing focus on innovation rather than fundamental research, which of course was important for the founding members of the Guild, which are all research-led universities. And there was also a feeling that the voice of universities should be heard, that all new knowledge should be supported, also social sciences and humanities in Horizon Europe, that there was a space for another network of research-led universities in Brussels. And we also wanted to create new forms of collaboration. So at the level of university governance, at the level of the faculties, to foster more kind of bilateral collaboration between the Guild members, to share practices. One very practical example is that many of the alliances, the European University Alliances, actually found their partners among the Guild members. So that's kind of an indirect effect of just collaborating together. So here you can see on the next slide the vision of the Guild as a network. Maybe in a nutshell, I can say that what we wanted was really to become a leading voice in the EU policy debates, but not only to discuss funding programs of the EU, Horizon Europe, Erasmus+, but really to provide kind of a thought leadership to the sector. And here I think I can, as an example, say that our work on EU-Africa strategy has been really successful. We issued a thought leadership paper 2 years ago. And also another example is the research-led education in a digital age position paper that we issued as well. So this is kind of academic-led. It comes from our members and provides a kind of a broader input, academic input to the whole higher education community. Here you can see a bit more about how the Guild works, and really I can say that the Guild is driven by the active engagement of its members. This includes also university presidents. So they meet twice per year. They set kind of the strategic agenda for the Guild. Another important body also in the governance structure is our vice presidents. And they have really emerged as a critical strategic body for the Guild. They also are involved in some of the task forces of the network. For example, they were the ones who developed our position on the research assessment reform, so a current debate that's happening in the EU, in Brussels. Here you can see also the core of the Guild, I would say, so the different working groups that we have that are made of representatives of our member universities. I think we've come up to 20 already, so they're growing quite fast. And they differ in terms of focus. Either it's more kind of policy related or collaboration related. And maybe here I can say that we've created the Dean's groups in 2018. This was kind of an idea to foster more academic collaboration, to embed the Guild as a network at the different universities. But next to collaboration, these Dean's groups have really been key in providing input for the strategic priorities of Horizon Europe. So, for example, um, we issued papers on the different clusters in 4 areas, actually. So it was health, digital, industry, and social sciences and humanities. And the deans were really those who provided that input when we prepared for the Horizon Europe, so for the new program. Um, Successes, I hope we can list some of these as examples. I would say that what's unique about the Guild is that I think we are really the only Brussels-based network that's really focusing not just on research excellence, but also on widening participation, as we have members who also come from EU 13 countries, so from Poland, from Romania, from Slovenia, and Estonia. And widening has really been at the core of what we do. And many of our position papers and statements always have this focus as well. In the past few years, as I mentioned, we've also collaborated with the African Research Universities Alliance. And here we provided some really concrete proposals on sustainable long-term funding for EU-Africa cooperation. And some of our proposals, like the clusters of excellence, have been included in the latest EU-Africa Innovation Agenda. We have very close ties with the European Research Council, and of course, this is because we strongly support fundamental research and the work of the ERC and the ERC budget always. And the Guild has also been one of the networks that contributed to the shaping of the European Universities Initiative. So one of the position papers that we issued really was the basis for the first calls as well. And we are very happy that most of our members are participating in this initiative. Some other successes, I would maybe mention that we try to engage, of course, with the Commission, with the Parliament, with the Council, and trying to go beyond the usual suspects when it comes to education and research. So really also discussing important issues for universities in DG Sante, responsible for health, or when we talk about EU-Africa cooperation, that's also, of course, DG INPA, responsible for international partnerships. Here you can see some of the other successes. I would not go into the details. As I said, we provided input for Horizon missions, for the European Universities Initiative, for the debate on open science. And although we are still quite a relatively young network, I think we have definitely been recognized and successful in what we do. And maybe to finish, just to have an overview of our members, so 21 member universities of the Guild, and I would say it's really a close community, a relatively small community, because it's 21 members, a community that's based on trust and equality. So all of our members have equal rights in terms of agenda setting and discussing. So I think that's what makes it quite special. At the moment, we are not looking for new members. As I said, last year, we welcomed our 21st member from Spain. But if there's a university from the Czech Republic, as I said, we also have EU 13 members. It's a very important aspect for us. If there are universities who feel that they would be a good fit for the Guild, then of course we are open to discussing and to contact our Secretary General for kind of initial talks about membership. So I would stop here, and of course, I'm open to any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivana, for this informative presentation and also for highlighting your interest and your focus. I think it's especially interesting for Czech Republic that you also are focused on EU 13 countries, not only for excellent research countries. So I don't see any question right now, so I think we can proceed to the second speaker, who is Ms. Nadine Burkwell from HUMANE Network.
Thank you very much, Bara. And we agreed that Denise would share my slide. Thank you, Denise. So thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation to speak to you this morning. I'll speak to you about HUMANE, the European International Network for Higher Education Professionals. So working with senior to middle manager. And we aim, what we want to do is transform governance, leadership management in university. We see this as the way we can support EU policy development in education and research. So a few words first about myself. I call myself a hybrid worker. I'm speaking to you here in my position as director in HUMANE of a residential school leadership development program that we run. I also do a lot of consultancy in Brussels on EU policy analysis. And I'm senior policy advisor, so Maastricht University School of Business Economics. So give you here on my slide a few example of what I do, which could also be interesting for Czech universities. I'm involved in the university business cooperation network. There is a platform, lots of exchange that it's open, available to anybody interesting. And I'm sure the Czech Republic is also looking at a European graduate tracking initiative in Europe. Lots of work also at the moment on reskilling, upskilling in higher education, which is so important everywhere around the world, or societal impact and sustainability. But now about HUMANE. So what I want to do in this presentation is to speak to you a little bit about the network, about these residential schools I've also mentioned, and a survey report we just carried out on the role and the position of heads of administration in universities. Going to the next slide. So HUMANE stands for Head of University Management and Administration Network in Europe. So we call ourselves this network for professional. That's what we mean, the administrative services in university, the support services. And these can be placed, these are at the central level in the university, the central administration, or at the faculty level, and usually central and the faculty level, I should say. So we target Director of Human Resource Management, IT, Quality Assurance, International Relation, Research, and so on. So all functions that support the academic enterprise, as I call it. We have 172 university members in 26 countries. We were set up in 97. And we are a membership association under Belgian law with a general assembly, an executive board, or all the bodies you recognize in associations, a chair and a secretariat for the daily management of the association. So what do? We are on next slide. So we are an international network, and we share good practices. We want to develop executive leaders. And in this way, we contribute to EU policy. We contribute to innovation in higher education, to change management, to transformation, because we feel university play a strong role in society for growth, economic growth, or societal growth. And this requires effective, very efficient working university with strong governance, leadership, and good management. We want to prepare students to be employable, to have good lives in society. How do we do it? You also need good universities with good student services, with good education and research to do that research, of course, for societies. We started as a small club in the mid 90s for exchanges between, we started with only the heads of administration of universities, so the Secretary General, the highest level. We set up at that time a round table with national representative, and HUMANE was founded in 97 in Milano, and we had an EU thematic network ground for that for 3 years. And then afterwards, now we are self-funding through the activities of the network. So starting from a small club, we've gradually widened the network to senior, middle management at all levels in universities, as I explained. Next slide. So now we've turned it to a fully fledged network, and we monitor EU policies, the priorities, the trends, and we reflect these into our work program. I'll give you an example of our activities in this year. We are at the moment finalizing dates, place, and topics for 2003, so 23, so they'll be available very shortly. But this year we've looked knowledge transfer and innovation, so clearly linked to the research agenda. We had a sustainability summit because we really truly believe that universities have a strong role to play in progressing in being active on the UN Sustainable Development Goal, on sustainability issues, the Green Deal, and so on. We had a campus on the future hybrid campus. We've all experienced COVID, been on Zooms, on Teams. Now, how do university really streamline all this experience working in the hybrid model? We are now in Trieste in the autumn looking at international partnership. How are they now developing further post-COVID? And we have a study visit on research and innovation management at Zurich. And I'll speak to you in a minute about these residential schools, which are very important to me as I'm the director of these schools in HUMANE. So this is a very nice activity. So next slide about these developmental program. So our aim is really career development for managers in universities, so at the individual levels, in helping individual management progress. And by doing so, we want to support institutional changes in higher education, in universities. So our assumption is that future leader and management need to be really adapted for the rapid changes in the environment, what is going on, and how can they respond to it. They need to be flexible, they need to be agile in managing their work. So what we want to do for the people who come to our networks is information on what is going on in the world of higher education, the global trend, EU policy, national trends. We work with case studies, really getting practitioners to explain to us what is going on, how the institution and responding to the changes. We focus on leadership, government, management. There is a lot of self-reflection for the participants in this leadership and development program. And also we want people to network, to share experience, share ideas among each other, professional network that they keep for life. So these residential schools, they are 1 week long, highly interactive experience, and we mix the theory with practice. So we have 3 schools.
I'm sorry, Nadine, but maybe you're covering your microphone with your hand or something, but it's
can you not hear me very well?
Now it's good again.
Now it's better. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but we could hear it, but it was
we
not
could hear,
perfect.
but not so well. Okay, I'll speak a bit louder. And no, I'm not covering
now
my
it's
microphone.
without yeah, now it's good.
Okay, no problem. Next slide. So yes, we have 3 schools. We have a winter school every year. So 1 week in Barcelona in March, where we look at the management strategy of internationalization and also reflecting what is happening in Europe with university. Next year, we'll have a new case study and we'll focus on a European University Alliance. So the way we work, we give a lot of material to our participants. We have a representative, in this case from an alliance, will speak to the people, and then our participants have to produce an analysis of the case and present it to a jury, a panel at the end of the week, and they receive feedback. So that's great for the learning and exchange, and these people work in small group for the whole week on one case. We have the same format for our summer school, which takes place every year in Berlin in September, and there we really look at transformation of professional services. We have there, for example, we look at the University of Helsinki. A couple of years ago, had major budget cuts from the government. How do they use this external factor to completely transform the services, the professional services in the university? And we have a third school, 1 week or so. We look at transnational partnership with Southeast Asian universities. So what I also wanted to talk to you about a survey we just carried out on the roles and positions of heads of administration in universities to really understand how these positions have been changing. So what we mean is the director of administration, the general director of services, they are called in some country, registrar, clerk, vice president for administrative affairs, or the chancellor in Germany. Because we see this in the context of major transformation taking place in higher education governance, a lot more autonomy given to universities, for example, in the last 20 years, but also at the same time, a lot more accountability for university. New forms of quality control, performance contracts, coming, a lot of pressure to deliver on national European agenda, a lot of funding, pressures, competition, the rankings are there, the profiling of institutions. How do universities deliver on the national agenda, on their own agenda, to profile themselves and to attract students, talents in their place? So strong institutional strategic positions and senior teams really driving a strong strategic agenda. And what we've seen also, what we've observed is more and more supervisory boards now in universities with external people helping to advise on university development. So what we've seen is really the heads of administration have their role strengthened in France, in the UK, or changed, like in the Netherlands, or lose visibility, like some German chancellor in Germany. We often joke with colleagues in the network, say 20 or 30 years ago, the chancellor in Germany was the university directly negotiating with the minister of finance or minister of education. Now this is changed. There's a more diverse relation in the executive teams of the university. Next slide. So in this survey we just carried out, and we see the head of an administration now advise the university board, and they manage all these operational services that I've been speaking about. And we've seen in our survey 3 categories now of heads of administration. So the traditional head of administration, where the role is still mainly compliance, daily operation. Head of administration is, we call him second to the rector, so he's involved in strategy formulation and implementation, or one who is really on equal terms in senior leadership roles, but of course with a role more limited to administrative matters. But often we see this head of administration, they have 3 roles in one. They are chief of staff, secretary to the board, head of operations, so quite a different role. Yes. And as I say, a lot of pressure to deliver on this complex strategic agenda, which requires really effective cooperation in the senior team. In the past, the heads of administration were often there for life, and now in the network, we've seen lots more movement, mobility of the head of administration. So their position is no longer for life. Sometimes they have also limited mandate, or if the relation with the rectors, the president doesn't work so well, they are invited to leave, as we put it nicely, because there is no fit anymore, and this interaction is so important. So next slide, we've looked also of the roles of the head of administration, so these people at the highest level of the administration in a university, how they participate in European international higher education network. And through our survey, we're clear they are aware, of course, of EU policies, what is going on in education and research, Erasmus, Horizon Europe. Sometimes they say they are involved, but we feel it's more the university is involved, not themselves directly, which was an important point for us. Lots of universities, also like the Guild, are involved, of course, in the European University Alliance. We have many, many, and more we see them mentioning this in our events, discussing the issue of the governance, how this partnership are development. So lots of good practices and exchange, and this is also what our members are interested in. So some conclusions from our survey. Next slide. Yes, you can, if you go on our website, you can put your email address and we can send you a copy of our survey. We had the implicit assumption that we were very large national differences, and we realized that's not so much the case, more similarity than differences. All countries transitioning now to kind of super management with different responsibilities. There is no typical organizational model. We were trying to find some, but that was not the case. There are many variations. The authority is in central services, also in the faculties, and within countries, of course, there are differences between universities, and there are often historical reasons which can explain these different. No permanent feature for the head of administration, as I mentioned. The head of administration is not seeing him or herself as a servant to senior academic leadership, but really as a partner, and we see few generalist head of administration. So to conclude now, we monitor really EU policies, research, and education, and our role, what we see, we translate these into key themes in our work program: internationalization, digitalization, the skills agenda I mentioned, impact, the new innovation agenda. And HUMANE is really about institute shaping and implementing a strategy. So we have a different role than the Guild, which plays a close role in being a voice for its member university. We see ourselves more as a practitioner network. We're monitoring the policies and then implement them in our work program, making sure we alert our members so they can change and they can transform to support European policy. Final slide. So for Czech university member, we have one member only so far. So it's a strong invitation to join if you are interested. We bring a lot of experience, professional network around Europe, peers, exchange, and all that through the schools, through the events and all that. We see a lot of support, mutual support between universities, because I believe we all share the same concern that we want to serve the communities through our expertise, serve our students, serve society with the research, the tremendous research that's done in university. So a strong invitation to Czech University to join us. Thank you very much. I think we're coming to my last slide. If you want any further information, go on our website and please contact me. Open to any question that you have in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nadine, for this detailed presentation and also for sharing some interesting findings of your survey. And last but not least, for the strong invitation that you gave to Czech universities. I'm sure it was inspiring and stimulating for our participants. And since we have no question in the chat right now. We can now proceed to the next speaker, who is Ms. Silvia Gomez from YERUN Network.
You see me well and you hear me well?
Yes,
Thank
very
you.
well.
Thank you. If there is any problem, just let me know. Indeed, Denisa, thank you very much for sharing my presentation. And also this presentation was meant to be given on the 8th of September, but I unfortunately got sick. That's things that happen in September with the change of weather. So thank you very much for having accommodated my presentation today. And thank you for having invited us and bring us all together. I'm really happy to hear the presentations of Nadine, that we've been in touch in other fora, but now I realize how many of our members are actually members also of HUMANE. So a lot of is not only us to give information, but to see how we can even further cooperate more between the different universities and associations that are based in Brussels. So if I can have the next slide. Yeah, so I'm going to cover today, but briefly, what is YERUN and why are we there? What's our objective, and whether there are opportunities indeed to joining our network, and what we would need to do if that's the case. So what is YERUN? And here we start with the first question, a little bit on what is a young European research university. And this is a group of universities that came together in 2016 when they started realizing that the contributions that they were making to the higher education sector and research were very high, but they were always, let's say, more hampered by other issues like their reputation or more established universities that in the end put these institutions a little bit in the shadow. And they realized that if there were other ways of measuring success and other possibilities to highlight the contributions of our universities, they would then have a huge impact, and they would be, let's say, much better known. That came as well. I don't know if colleagues in the call are familiar, probably many, with the Times Higher Education rankings, the top 50 and the 50 young university rankings. And that was a little bit what I started to raise awareness about this group of universities, that if we take into account other aspects rather than the reputation and the establishment of institutions, we realize that there are universities that are very young, despite their age, and the resources are contributing highly to the higher education system. So that brought them this energy to say we should continue coordinating with universities such as ours to make sure that the work we do becomes more visible. So that's exactly, they really wanted to defend the younger institutions in the higher education sector. We have a Brussels office. I'm very close to the one of the Guild and some other colleagues. I'm very close to CZELO. And at the moment, we have 22 members from 15 European countries. If I can have the next slide. Here you have a look, but you can also look that on our website. And what do we do now together? We don't have any university from the Czech Republic. That's important for you to know, but I will cover that afterwards. But what do we do at the moment? If I can have the next slide as well, Denisa. We have our strategy for 2021, 2025. At the very beginning, when the network was formed in 2006, they just wanted to cooperate in general in issues like education, research, and service to society. But the first years of our work made us realize that we had different working groups, but maybe we were lacking a little bit of focus, and that it was better to try to organize our colleagues and the expertise of our universities, not necessarily on silos such as education or research or service to society, but on the objective that we wanted to achieve by working together. And that brought us the three main priorities that we have at the moment, that is the development of talent, from students to staff to researchers to our own institutions. The area of the open cultures of excellence, where we are cooperating both in education and research, and the social responsibility agenda that our universities would have, and how we are contributing with the work we do, more than just creating knowledge, but the impact and the services that we are providing to our societies. And the three in the next slide, you'll see the three ways that we have to collaborate together. That's a bit more the typical network, let's say, activities. One that is the area of advocacy. So how are we bringing the interest of our universities to the attention of you policymakers on the various topics that we work on? The part on collaboration, by knowing and learning from each other, how we can really foster other activities, learning materials, change of best practice, counseling support, and sometimes just partnerships between our institutions. And the visibility, that was the third but very crucial part of the need for our network to assist. That was that we needed to give a little bit of a boost to the activities our members were doing, because traditionally were not necessarily highlighted by the normal, let's say, communication channels. So we had to bring it a little back and push it to make sure that what they were doing was also widely known. In policy advocacy, on the next slide, we are not only trying to influence European initiatives, but in policy advocacy, we have a truly remit and objective to increase the capacity of our own members to advocate themselves as well at national level. European policy priorities are not necessarily happening exclusively in Brussels, but it's a cycle that it starts in Brussels, but goes back to your members and then comes back again. And then there's nothing that will happen, let's say, in isolation. We could have a very strong secretariat and advocate for many things, but if things then are not backed up by what our members do, then we have other venues within the European institutions that would not fit the match, let's say. So all your members, your Ministry of Education, your Ministry of Research, they are represented, your Ministry of Finances, they are represented within the Council of the European Union. And then you have also your MEPs working here as well. So it's important that not only us are advocating in these priorities, but that we also show how our members do need to do it also nationally or locally. That depends also on how the country is structured. So one of the key figures that we have here, that it's a little bit more different from our previous strategy, and it's in the next slide, is our YERUN policy platform. And that's a group of various individuals that have, each of them has a different line of expertise, and there are also different levels in ranking. Some are directors, some are more operational colleagues, some other vice rectors, and all together help us define the policy priorities, but also help us define the capacity activities that we will do within our members to make sure that the cycle of policy advocacy is closed. And if we continue a little bit on that, in the topics that we are working on with this policy platform, we have a little bit the two main things we followed recently were on the more education, if we can call it this way, side, it would be the European Strategy for Universities. And there you see the different topics covered. And then very heavily lately also our involvement in the European research area and in the participation of the European Forum, the ERA Forum, where we are following together with other university networks, including the Guild, and under the leadership of the European University Association, all the different activities and priorities that we are working on with different ministries, but especially also ministries from the Czech Republic. This work of our experts, but also this policy platform, help us develop papers such as the ones that you'll see in the next slide, Denisa, that these are the latest one that we've done, and I think may be interesting for you to have a look. The latest one was the topics on research assessment. So what do we need to do for the reform of research assessment, and how can we make academia a better place and also become a little bit more modern? On the part of sustainability, it's a compilation and recommendations on how to bring education on sustainability within our universities. And then the part of previous documents that we've done was the future of universities, including also the European University Strategy and the European Universities Initiative. And then a very important that was the first of our papers, but I think it was when maybe was a turning point for all of us, that it was quite telling, but also I think is quite understanding that we did our first paper on what happened after COVID. So that was a little bit a different way of proceeding within the work that we were doing in terms of policy advocacy, not only to bring aspects on key initiatives that are already in the pipeline, but trying to be also more forward-looking into what we could propose for things that may not yet be debated on the EU at the EU policy level. In the next slide, I will cover what our members are also doing in terms of collaboration. And in the next slide, you'll see the different topics that we have. So we used to have working groups. Now we have what we call other groups, but just because we want to give it much more of a flexible structure, they are open for a more limited period of time. It's a group of colleagues that come together, they debate a challenge that they have on key topics that are resonating in our strategy, and they decide on an action plan to do something. And this do something can be different things. Can be a learning process, can be a prize award, can be a mutual learning exercise, can be a publication, can be a series of events. It depends. And there, the ones that you have at the moment that we have open are the development of academic careers, of the future of academics, the group on sustainable development goals, one of European universities, because we also have 16 members out of the 22 involved in 7 European University Alliances. Our group of open science, that is one that we started in 2017 and has actually continued. This one doesn't want to close. And then we have 3 other ones that are of a bit of a different structure that tend to be a bit more permanent. And because it's not only more permanent, but they tend to have also a representative from one of our universities. And each of our universities are represented there. One more debated on how we can help support the research support offices and research management. Then the areas of collaboration with the prizes that we give in YERUN that are one on research mobility to enhance cooperation, especially among early career researchers, and another one that is new since last year on open science initiatives, either from staff or researchers coming from our member universities. We are going to open now 2 more groups. One is on innovative teaching and learning, and the other one on lifelong learning and the contribution of universities. So this in terms of more topics, and we still have until 2025 to come up with other topics within our strategy. So the mobility awards, and here I have the 2020 goal because the 2022 is being resolved as we speak. So they will be published, the results next week. And this is a mobility scheme that we have run since 2017, is focusing very much on early career researchers and to enhance research cooperations between our universities. Those are physical, they started being physical, but now we went into hybrid mode. So we are allowing online collaborations, physical collaboration, or both. And we have a 10th, I guess we had a 1,000 euro grant to cover expenses. And for the moment, you know, it's one of the key activities or low-hanging fruits that early career researchers see when they join the network, because they immediately can make use of some funding to go and see another colleague at another university. And if I go to the final part, well, almost final, the part of the communication activities and how this is important for us, because it's not only to say what we are doing in Brussels, that we give attention to that, of course, but we really focus very much on what our members are doing in topics that are part of the EU policy agenda. And that is done through different channels. We have our website, we have, and maybe this is actually in the next slide, Denisa, sorry. In the next slide, you'll see that we are giving information to our members through the website that we have, Twitter and LinkedIn. But then we have 2 main communication activities, one in the internal newsletter, the Brussels Insights. This is where we're giving a little bit more of a, if you want to say, a bit of a consultancy service to our members on what's happening at European level, upcoming information on calls, funding programs that they can find, also opportunities that they have to work or cooperate with each other. Many times we have opportunities from one member to do visits to another, or even job positions. And this is normally published every 2-3 weeks, and for the moment is only available for members. But then we have the external newsletter, and that's something that you can subscribe to. That is where we really try to bring forward activities that our members are doing in key topics. We've chosen sustainability, we've chosen innovation, innovative teaching and learning, online learning, you name it, the European University Alliances. And what we really try is to highlight what our members are doing for the European or Brussels audience. And last slide, and I hope I'm not running my 10 minutes, but that will be the part where I say you'll see that because we are coming from a bit of a traditional way of looking at success, and that's, let's say, the first part that I mentioned at the very beginning, why members started, it was because of this ranking of the Times Higher Education, so the top 50 under 50, well, there were not many universities from Eastern Europe in that ranking. There are still not many at this stage. So that's not anymore the way that we select our members. That kind of brought us together. But the ways in which we are now looking at our members are a bit more of a looking for really like-minded institutions that would also like to make academia and the higher education sector a little different and a bit more innovative. So within that in mind, we've been covering some other members in the past years, but we're still, as you see in the map, quite open for certain areas of Europe. And there is some information on our website explaining exactly what are the key aspects that we would value in an application. And this, of course, will be taken then by our governing bodies that are, as in any other network, and has been covered already by the other colleagues, executive boards and general assemblies. But if any young university and young universities established after the 1960s would like to hear more about what they can do with us, I really encourage them to send us an email and start having some discussions. And I think that's my final one. There might be a thank you indeed and get in touch. I hope it's been useful, colleagues, and I hope that it raised and sparked some interest in some of you. And I'm available for any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. It was useful indeed. Thank you for this comprehensive list of all the topics that you are focused at and activities. And I think it's really important that you combine education as well as research, because this like synergetic approach is very important today. So because the time is running fast, we will proceed to the next presentation. And I would like to welcome Mr. Michael Heinen from the Association for Teacher Education in Europe. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me and also can see my PowerPoint in screen. I see some nodding, which is good. Thank you. Today I will be representing the Association for Teacher Education in Europe. And my name is Michiel Heijnen. I'm based in the Netherlands, where I work as Director of Education at the Marnix Academy, which is a University of Applied Sciences based in Utrecht in the center of the Netherlands. And we provide bachelor and master teacher education programs and, of course, conduct research. And next to my work at Marnix Academy, I'm the president of the ATEE, which stands for Association for Teacher Education in Europe. So thank you for inviting me here today, and I will share with you some insights and some background regarding the ATE. Of course, it's important to always start with our mission statement. The ATE aims to enhance the quality of teacher education in Europe, and we do this through active dialogue. And this is for us the core of the association. Talking together, discussing together multiple perspectives and working together is really important for us. So we exchange internationally our research and practice in initial as well as in-service teacher education. And teacher education, of course, we as an association believe is very important, and especially now because we're facing several challenges within the field of teacher education. In several European countries, for example, also here in the Netherlands, where I'm based, we face teacher shortages. We still have post-COVID effects on teacher and education in general. We see from a European report that there is declining societal appreciation for the teaching profession. And combined with this teacher shortage, we really have a challenge there. We also face migration and growing diversity in schools, which challenges teachers to do a good job. And of course, technological innovation, it leads to radical changes in the way we conduct research, but also in the way we teach and in the way education is being transformed. So teachers make the difference. And we as an association say through this active dialogue and by conducting this research, we need to invest in quality teacher education. And we do this in several ways, by conducting research, as I said, through the RDCs, and I will go deeper in the RDCs later on in my presentation. RDC stands for Research and Development Community. We try to do a lot of networking and knowledge dissemination. We do this through conferences, and since the COVID pandemic, also through online activities. And we try to join forces to influence European policies on teacher education. Well, the ATEE in numbers, we are there for quite a long time, since 1974. We have one secretariat with Maria Grazia Tagliabue, which is an Italian based in Brussels, and she is the driving force of the association. We have individual as well as institutional members, around 120 individual members and 48 institutional members. And institutional members are universities of applied sciences, universities specializing in teacher education, well, all around Europe and also beyond, because we have members from 43 different countries. So also from, for example, Asia, the US, and even from Africa. The association is led by the Administrative Council, which has one president, which is me, a vice president from Poland, and a treasurer from Hungary. We also have an RDC coordinator who is based at Antwerp University in Belgium, and he coordinates all the activities done by the research and development communities. We have, of course, a General Assembly and 14 of these research and development communities, and all members are voluntarily involved in the association, except for the Secretariat based in Brussels. So the R&D communities, the research and development communities, are really the heart of the association. Teacher educators from all over Europe and beyond, as I said, meet, exchange and cooperate. And RDCs are open to members of the association, but as well as for non-members. They're organized around themes. And in this way, they create a platform for teacher educators who share the same interest. And RDCs can conduct shared research, EU-funded project, preparations for shared publications, for example, in the European Journal of Teacher Education. So there are quite some ways to collaborate. Here you see an overview of all the different RDCs. I will not mention them all. Teaching modern languages, education policy, inclusion, which is very well known at the moment, this RDC, professional development of teachers, but also professional development of teacher educators, quite some RDCs. You can find them all in our website. So the RDC communities are being led by Ronnie Smet, our RDC coordinator, who is from Antwerp. They meet every month, at least the chairs and the co-chairs meet every month to talk through the latest projects or the latest ideas to really to network. And as an association, we also have some funding available for the RDCs to motivate members to collaborate. So they can write a proposal, and if they have a good proposal, they get some funding to do some joint research or other work. I think I'm conscious of the time. I think we only have 2 minutes left, right? Because just checking, Bara.
Yeah, I think we can stay a few minutes later.
Okay, okay. Then I will take my time. Well, at the same time, I'm busy as well. But let's see. So I think really important for the ATEE association is networking. So when you become a member, you get access to a rich network, EU and beyond. You have the possibility to engage with other members in joint research and innovation projects. We also have the ATEE expert database, because as an ATEE based in Brussels, we get a lot of questions from other associations, but also from the European Commission, if we can think or work together within these innovative projects. And then we make use of this expert database. We look at our members, who is an expert in a specific topic, and then we send out an email to invite the member to join the working group or to join the project. So when you're a member, you can get into this database. For example, we now have 2 members who are in EU working groups, which is they are there on behalf of ATEE, but it's also a good opportunity for themselves, of course. As a member of ATEE, you get free online access to several journals, and one of the journals, the first one, the European Journal of Teacher Education, is our own journal. Which means that the editors of this journal are also members of the ATEE, and quite some members of the editorial board are also members. So you get a possibility to get support in publishing in this journal, and you get a possibility to join in as an author in the ATEE book series, which now has, I think, 2 books and one is being worked on right now. The editors are from Portugal and from the Netherlands, the 2 of them, Anja and Maria, and the journal is doing a good, even a great job, I think, because the impact factor is quite high, and the ranking is 25 of the 267 journals that focus on the topic of teacher education. Furthermore, we try to organize 3 conferences a year. Well, the last years, of course, online because of the COVID pandemic. But we just came back from Riga in Latvia, where we had our annual conference. And next year we go to Budapest for the annual conference in Hungary. And next to the face-to-face conference, we also have a lot of online conferences, which are quite well attended, and we try to bring out a series of webinars as well. So when you are a member, you can access all these conferences, you can access the webinars, the discussion group seminars, etc. If you want to have a look at how this Riga Latvia conference was, you can just click on this link. I will share the presentation with Bara, and maybe you can send it to the people who attended the webinar today. Just click on the link and have a look so you can get a little bit of a feel of how this conference was. So the next one is in Budapest in Hungary in August 2023 at ELTE University, and we're really looking forward to that as well. So being a member of ATEE will lead to a lot of networking, joint project, joint research, but also a possibility to strengthen your leadership skills. For example, by becoming a member of the Administrative Council or be a member of an RDC as a chair or as a co-chair. The news of our association, we try to send out a newsletter every once in a while, I think every month. We have a LinkedIn, a Facebook, and a Twitter account, so you can follow the news of our members, and it will help you to disseminate when you're a member of ATEE. And some other benefits of being a member is that you can have a free meeting room in Brussels, to establish contact with other Brussels-based organizations. For example, we work quite closely together with the Lifelong Learning Platform, which is also based in Brussels. And of course, it's a good way to gain some international experiences and make some interesting new friends. At the moment, we are, of course, open for members, individual members, as well as institutional members. And you can have a look at the website to find out how you can become a member. And the website is here. It's ate.education. And please feel free to send me, the president, or the secretariat, an email if you have any questions. So thank you very much for today. I was a little bit in a rush, but I hope it was okay. I'll share the PowerPoint with Bara and hope to meet you soon in Brussels. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael, and sorry to put you the last one, so you were a bit under pressure, but it was really clear and useful. So thank you very much also for mentioning the benefits for the potential new members and for the current members, like the expert database and so on. I think it was I hope it was useful for our participants. So it's already 4 minutes past 11, so I would like to now open the floor to questions if there are any. So please feel free to raise your hand or directly turn on your microphone and ask. So is there any question? I have no, I don't see any. So I will just have a few quick questions myself. So many of you were mentioning the European Universities Initiative, and I would like to ask you, because Nadine mentioned the winter school that is focused on this initiative, and Ivana as well as Sylvia were talking about working groups that are focused on the European Universities Alliances initiative. So are these activities and focus on working groups also open to the universities who are not members of the alliances yet? And how do they interact with these that actually are? Because I can imagine it must be very inspiring for them to like have this contact and to work these who are members of some alliance with these who are not. So if you can maybe tell us more about that, because as you probably know, Czech universities are involved in 4 alliances, which is not that much. So actually, we are more universities that are on the other side, let's say. Thank you.
Shall I? Shall I start? So for this, I mentioned this school. So we have a winter school for the first time. Next year, we'll introduce a case on a European University Alliance. We use 2 cases always in our school. So that's a 1-week program. It will use that case. The other case will be about a branch campus. University of Nottingham is a branch campus in China and in Malaysia. And our schools are open for HUMANE members and non-members. And we have different fees than for different people. And not all universities are involved in this European University Alliance. But it's an important development at European level. That's why we wanted to bring this as one of the 2 cases we look at in the school. Hope this answers the question, Bara.
Yeah, I can maybe just follow with so within the Guild, we do have a European Universities Working Group, and it's open to, of course, Guild members, but also members who are not part of the alliances, which now is only 1 member. So 20 out of 21 Guild members are now part of the initiative. Of course, we discuss all the latest developments and share practices, because it's another space for them to engage. But we also organize public events, and I'm sure that, well, the last one on European universities was pre-pandemic, end of 2019, and I hope soon we will also either online or physically also engage with this very important topic. So of course we would be very happy if many Czech institutions also join and listen in.
And Bara, very quickly, same as the Guild, our activities are and the groups are reserved for members, but indeed we also allow the participation of those that are not in alliances, and that in the second call and third call, let's say, all these things has actually made some of the new members entering in some of the alliances that we had in YERUN, so that has facilitated their access in that respect. And we haven't organized many open events on the European University Alliances, I have to say. But if that, indeed, the same thing. If there are public events, they are available for everybody. But indeed, our activities internally are are more object to the participation of our members.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other question from the audience? No, I don't see any. So in this case, I would like to thank you all. Thank you for participating today. Thanks to our speakers and also to the participants that they joined us and stay with us until this bit of a later time.